Hi everyone, I am Ilektra Kouloumpi and I'm here to talk about thriving cities within the planetary boundaries. I am part of an organization called Circle Economy. We are based in Amsterdam and our main goal is to support the practical implementation of the circular economy. We work with cities and businesses and we really deliver projects on the ground. Our motto is let's make it happen. We're about 50 people, 25 nationalities, a very rich and dynamic environment. I work for the cities team where I lead the program of thriving cities. Well, where I'm currently is I'm not in Amsterdam. I am talking to you from my family house in Athens, where I come from in Greece, where, like many of you, I'm also witnessing this new realities of the lockdown. And it's my feeling that all this new reality has been surfacing deeper fears that exist in our society, in ourselves, but it's also unearthing um, deep systemic faults and inequalities that exist in our society. But it seems to me that also all these shocks that we are undergoing all together are giving us some shifts in our ideas and the way we perceive the world. And I feel we come down to understand more deeply our connection and, profound dependence upon nature, and as the place where we go to seek peace, resilience, and safety at this moment. But also through this crisis, I feel we have come to realize very deeply how when something happens here in the world, its impacts can travel very fast, very far away. And it was through this crisis that we became so aware of. And in that way, we have come to realize how interdependent we are with each other and how we are all part of one system, one planet, being connected and dependent upon nature. And I feel that also we are in this place in time that when we start to shift our attention and deprioritize the value of continuous growth at all costs. And we come to start thinking more about new values like thriving. What is thriving society, thriving cities, thriving people? And what does this mean? Well, at Circle Economy, we have already started for about a year and a half a new program together with Doughnut Economics Action Lab, the C40 Network of Cities and KR Foundation, which is called the Thriving Cities Initiative, where we are trying to answer this question about how cities can thrive within the planetary boundaries. And to do so, we have been working with a doughnut economics model. We are piloting with 3 cities, Amsterdam, Philadelphia, and Portland from the United States. 3 cities that have been keen and ready to experiment with a new economic paradigm. But what is the doughnut? The doughnut is an economic model developed by Kate Raworth that, like all the best ideas in this world, seems to be so simple and obvious that makes you think, how come I haven't thought about that before? Well, this model puts in a simple visualization a very complex goal, humanity's 21st century goal, which is how can we meet the needs of all within the means of our planet? Here is how it goes. The visualization has 2 rings. The inner ring of the visual represents the social foundation. the basic needs, the basic essentials that humanity needs to have to thrive, as they have been represented by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This entails clean water, food, health, to social equity, gender equality, peace and justice. According to this model, nobody should fall in the hole of the circle, because that would mean that they cannot meet their basic needs. The outer ring of the donut represents the Earth's boundaries, the planetary boundaries, the Earth's carrying capacity, which ranges between air pollution to climate breakdown to chemical pollution, also known as acidification. In between these two rings, there is this donut-shaped space, which is the space where humanity strives to be in, the safe and just space, or else the space for a regenerative and distributive economy, as Kate says. But what is our current state? What is the state of humanity and our planetary home? Well, as red indicates, it's not at a very good stage. The news says that we have only 12 years to limit climate change catastrophe, and with the time we're speaking now, the time has dropped. We as humanity have already managed to wipe out 60% already of all our animal species. Research shows that there is chemical pollution all around the globe, and also plastic inside our bodies. Our children, we are breathing toxic air, and we destroy our land, we take our land, we use it, and at the same time we are threatening our human well-being. And at the same time we are polluting our oceans, and the acidification level have reached a limit that has never been seen for the last 14 million years. And last but not least, something that my brain, I think the human brain, cannot grasp, is that the richest 1% of this world owning half of the world's wealth. Well, all these are not really good news, and I think makes you stressed as much as I feel stressed. But this is a piece of good news. We have managed to close the Earth's ozone layer because we humans did something about it, NASA says. Well, this is hopeful. We can do something about all this if we really want to. Well, since the beginning of the donut, people were asking, how can we downscale this model? How can we bring it to our city, to our neighborhood? How can we make it practical? Well, this is what we have been trying to do with the Thriving Cities initiative. We have been trying to downscale the model to the city level and keep its essence of combining social and environmental aspects together with local and global responsibility. All this summarizes to this overarching question: how can our city be a home to thriving people in this thriving place, while respecting the well-being of all people and the health of the whole planet? This big question is actually broken into 4 different questions that actually create the 4 lenses of the city donut. The first one is, what would it mean for the people of the city to the low social aspect? Second, what would it mean for the city to thrive within its natural habitat, the ecological local aspect? Third, what is this city's impact on the health of the whole planet? So how can we see the global impact of the city on the planet, the ecological aspect? And last, what is the city's impact on the well-being of people worldwide? Thinking of the social aspect, but on a global level. All these 4 questions are actually creating the 4 lenses, 4 interconnected lenses 4 different views of the city. It's actually creating a new portrait of the city, what we call the city portrait, that shows the current state of the city in these different realms. The city portrait has been created with both qualitative and quantitative indicators. It includes city statistics, city target, city snapshots, and is not meant to be used as an assessment of the city or as a report, but is more meant to be used as a tool for transformative action. So it should be combined with workshops where stakeholders are creating insights and conversation about the interdependencies of all these themes, the connection between the lenses, and can be used as a starting point for action and policy making. The city portrait becomes even more interesting when the city starts owning it and turning it from a portrait into a selfie by adding projects, initiatives, programs, quotes from the residents of the city, bringing it like this into life, making it a live representation of the city through these 4 different lenses. I brought the journey of Amsterdam to show you how all this comes into life in a real city. And this journey of Amsterdam has started a long time ago when in 2015, we at Circle Economy started to work with the city of Amsterdam to support them create a circular strategy and fulfill their ambitious target vision to become a fully circular city by 2050. And it was about 2 years ago when we started a more profound conversation with the city about how can we make this circular transition accessible for everyone? How can we make sure that the circular solutions will benefit everyone and not just those ones who can afford them? We also started to think about the city's consumption and how can we make sure that the city is impacting, how does the city impact the rest of the planet through its consumption? And that's the moment when we decided to bring in the conversation the doughnut economic model to make sure that we can design strategies to make Amsterdam a fully circular city that operates within a safe and just space for humanity. And this journey was a very, very long and dynamic and exciting journey that included a lot of people. We brought together all the different departments of the city to create a truly holistic vision. Departments that have not been used to be talking together in the same table. And with all of them, we started mapping on the first workshop all the current targets of the city on the doughnut to see where the city is right now with its intention and vision, understand the dependencies, but also look if there are themes that are not represented. We already started thinking also, how does the city going to impact the different social or environmental aspects of the doughnut by aiming for a certain target? In the second phase, we started a co-creation process, a strategic co-creation process, where altogether all the city departments and the different stakeholders, we started using the doughnut as a compass to design circular strategies. We were having in mind how we create strategies that would have the most synergetic benefits across the different themes of both social and environmental themes of the doughnut. Imagine an example of, for instance, how can a strategy about housing can have positive impacts on health, education, climate, air pollution, or even gender equality. This is the kind of holistic thinking that we were striving for when we were designing the strategies. On the next stage, we took a step back and we started reflecting again about the city targets. Are they holistic enough? Do they match with the vision of Amsterdam to become a thriving city within the planetary boundaries? Do we need to reconsider our targets and our general trajectory? And the group started becoming bigger and bigger. At some point, we were having 200 people in a big room working together, experts and change makers of the city from different sectors, the three priority sectors of construction, food and biomass, and consumer goods. All these experts were coming together to work with the doughnut and actually enrich those strategies and ideas with knowledge and expertise from the ground. All these organizations from Amsterdam were asked to reflect how could they contribute through their own vision and mission towards the general city vision of becoming a circular city operating within the doughnut. What kind of partnerships, collaboration and governance should they bring into place in order to make this happen? And what is the outcome? Well, the outcome of many revisions and many refinements after 1 year and a half is this Amsterdam Circular Strategy that has been recently approved by the political leadership of the city that shows the course of actions that will take place in the next 5 years. I have selected a few practical examples of those strategies that the city, all the city has created to show you how all this thinking of the doughnut has landed into some practical examples. Here we have the example of on the food and biomass value chain, where one of the main ambitions and strategies is to promote short food chains. What happens with short food chains is that by reducing the logistics for the transportation of food from faraway places, we drastically reduce the CO2 emissions associated to this transportation, which obviously creates huge positive impact on the climate change and the other environmental themes of the doughnut. But at the same time, such a strategy has also profound social benefits for the city, since it starts linking its residents with the food production and reconnecting, bringing the food back to the city, reconnecting people to the food, the way it's being produced, creating a whole new mindset and a new way of consuming, eating food, and new habits. These are the sets of actions summarized here that the city has come up with. The first is to use spatial planning instruments to actually give place for the food in the city, for it to grow. The second is to promote circular agriculture, so in that way we can close the loop of nutrients and bring them back to the ground. The third has to do with the city trying to lead by example and purchase regionally produced food, and in that way boost the market of local products. The fourth is fostering the collaboration between the different parties of the value chain, so there is more immediate connection between the producers and the consumers. And last is the awareness and education campaigns, making the food production and the food a strong element in the city, reconnecting people back to it, and creating a whole new way of thinking about it. In the second value chain, the value chain of consumer goods, here we see the example of a strategy where the city aims to reduce its consumption of goods. The city of Amsterdam aims to set the right example and reduce its consumption of goods by 20%. In this, important role will play the implementation of 100% circular procurement, meaning procuring circular products by the city. Also, the adoption of the policy of access over ownership, so that we shift from the model of buying products towards the model of keeping the ownership and the responsibility of the products to the producer, so that they can reclaim the materials afterwards. And also, the city will act as a launching customer and will boost the market for new circular products and services. As you see, this strategy has, again, multiple benefits on the donut. You can see on the right hand how we can see positive impacts on climate change because of the reduction of the use of resources, and therefore all the processing of materials is being reduced and all the transportation, and therefore the climate change is getting a good benefit on this topic of donut, but also on the topics of social themes like impact and work and the whole education and awareness that creates such a strategy. Last, on the value chain of construction, I've chosen the strategy about the circular socially responsible criteria for construction. This has to do with all the criteria that exist on tender and procurement processes that the city is running for all the stages of construction, to make sure that all these criteria are circular. Also, the city is prioritizing the use of existing buildings before constructing new ones. There is a strong focus on the circular retrofitting to make it also accessible for all kinds of housing, especially for social housing. So there is a high standard of health and housing and living conditions for all the residents of the city, looking there at the synergies on the social aspects of the donut. And also the shift towards models of ownership of public infrastructure to promote producers' responsibility. Here is the example of the circular road, where the city is not anymore owning the infrastructure of roads, but instead the producer construction company remains responsible for its whole lifetime. So when the road is needs to be at the end of its life demolished, the materials can be resourced back to the producer and be reused. A few examples of where all this has led, and now what? Well, that is just the beginning of a journey of really transforming Amsterdam into a thriving city within the boundaries of the donut. As you have seen, this whole example of Amsterdam has taken a lot of traction. The deputy mayor of Amsterdam has committed on her article, on her interview with Kate Raworth on Guardian, to use the donut economics model to mend the economy of the city after the coronavirus crisis. And that has set an example for many other cities around the world to look at Amsterdam. But this is not the only thing that has happened. There is a parallel, very exciting, organic, a self-organized network of change makers, different organizations, different initiatives that have been working with the donut all this time while the city was developing with us, the city donut. All these different organizations have been trying to bring this concept into life. All of them are now coming together with the city of Amsterdam, together with the region, together with the economic board and many other key players of the city. They have formed this Amsterdam Donut Coalition. And they are keen, and they are inventing their own process about how to turn the donut into the city donut into a city into a selfie, how to bring the donut into life. What does this really mean? And there are different ways. There are different ways one can use to take the city donut and turn it into action. And these are the famous 8 M's from Kate. The first one is to use it as a mirror. Take the city donut and use it as a mirror to reflect about the current state of the city through these 4 different lenses. Second is to use it to create a common mission, a thriving vision where all the different stakeholders, the different people of the city can connect with. Third, to use it to move it, to mobilize, and to engage a network of stakeholders to come into action, into transformative action. You can use it to map. You can use it as a map, as I said, to map all the different initiatives, projects, and activities in the city and turn it into a city selfie. You can use it for a new mindset, to create a new narrative, a new set of values that are so important right now, to create a foundation where this deep transformation needs to base upon. You can use it to create momentum, to keep an iterative process of decision making and reflection and policy revision, so that it can keep on going and reviewing what is needed for change. You can use it actually to monitor. You can use the city doughnut to monitor the progress of the city. With a set of the right indicators, the city can see how it's moving towards, how it is moving and progressing towards the safe and just space in between the two rings of the doughnut. And last but not least, you can use it to make it irresistible. You can use it to make all this transformation a journey where everybody wants to be part of, a creative, inspiring journey where everybody can come together. But this is not something that can happen in a day. To turn a city into a thriving city, to operate within the planetary boundaries, is not something that we have one answer about. It's a journey that many different stakeholders need to come together and define new systems of governance, new sets of values, new sets of collaborations, new financing mechanisms. And there are many answers that they need to find and define together. We are keen to keep on working with Amsterdam. We will keep on working with Amsterdam, Philadelphia, and Portland to see how we can support cities to thrive and implement the doughnut model. But we are very keen to see how we can open this conversation with many other cities, many other regions and neighborhoods and nations, to see how we can bring this work there. And I'm very open and welcoming all your reflections and questions. And I'm very keen to work together with you to bring this work to the whole world. Thank you very much for your attention, and looking forward to our conversations.